Hey planner friends, welcome back to the Planner Hoot. I hope you guys are having a beautiful and blessed day wherever you guys are. We are finally going into the final step of my full planning process, and this is the small scout planner that I use for my family finance and budgeting things. So if you're new here, my name is Celinda and I am definitely a hoot, but I love planners and I could not decide to just use one planner a few years ago. So I have evolved my planning system into 4 different planners, but they all serve one purpose and connect with each other so that the chaos in my life is a little bit less chaotic. So I definitely want to share that you do not need 4 planners, but if you are undecided and you want to be able to use multiple planners in your system where it's not crazy and you feel like you're juggling way too much and it's just in a very cohesive system, then maybe my process would work for you. I am linking everything in my description for the playlist of all of my February move-ins. I did go really deeply into each of my planners, how I use them, what changes I've made, how I set up each planner every month, but also how they connect with each other, which I think is, the most important part. So if you have been here before and you have watched my Scout move-in for January, you are going to notice that I do have a different planner in front of me. And so let me share that story with you guys, and then we'll move into February together. All right. So basically, my husband hijacked my Scout planner that I had. And so, well, actually, it's right here. So this one now is his. So you see, I took out the stickers and my little decor here, but now that is his project planner. So he's evolving in his business and he is now needing to plan more in detail. And so when we were doing our monthly check in, he was kind of like starting to write his own notes. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So that is now his planner because, we cannot have double handwritings in one planner, guys. It just doesn't work that way, at least in my world. So I decided because I gave away the small scout back in December. And when I did the scout giveaway, it was for this Bennett Sisters cover. And I shared that I was very obsessed with that cover. So it actually was the perfect accident because now I get to have my own Bennett Sisters cover. And I was actually excited that it restocked with the Monday start because all of my planners are a Monday start. So I'm really, really excited about that. So I won't show you January because, like I mentioned, this is my finance and budgeting planner. So there are a lot of personal numbers in here. But I'm definitely going to show you the start of February and then just recapping this beautiful planner. We know that you get to see your beautiful month and your weeks at the same time. So it's still that functionality of the Laurel Denise designs where you get to see everything in one view, which I absolutely love. I think it's just the perfect addition to my planning process. I started last year in the large scout, and this small scout is just even more perfect because we don't use a lot of written notes in here other than just like checking in on numbers. So it's just the perfect size for it, in my opinion. So my intention with this planner is obviously it's not just financing and budgeting, but it's going to be our home-based planner. So we are currently building our forever home. And so we do have a lot of projects that we're obviously keeping track of, budgeting for. And so the back pages will evolve with me as we move into the house so that the back pages become more of like our monthly cleaning and things I want to do outside and all of the fun house owners, projects that you got to keep track of. That's what I'll use the back pages for. But currently, everything is blank because this is just going to be project based. So now that I'm going to start in this new February planner, as I'm moving into planning like the furniture and the design of each of the rooms, this is where I plan to keep track of that because, I have to stay on budget, unfortunately, for each of the new rooms and things like that. So obviously, I'm not going to just buy everything up front. And so I just like to make a plan of what's going to be a little more important and where I'm going to focus our budget every month for all of those rooms and new furniture and new decor and all of the fun things with going into a new home. So Those are my back pages in my small scout. In my actual month and week, I typically, the way I have it in my January is all of the deadlines for auto draft payments or any upcoming projects I keep up here. And then you'll see when I set this up, basically, I'll have the main things I want to keep track of every single month with some goals for the month, and then my individual breakdown of my spend logs. And I do like to separate business and personal. So when we check in with each other, we try to do it every 2 weeks, but definitely at the end of the month, we just make sure that everything matches our bank statements and everything is just completely matching up to what our goals are at the same time. So we're just know exactly where our monies are going. And then when we are obviously going to be planning for some projects, we have a very realistic expectation of what that budget for that project is. So I'm going to zoom through to set up February, and then we'll talk a little bit more detail on where I put what and why these things matter, at least to me, when I plan out for our finances and our home projects. All right, friends, so here is my spread. It is very simple, but it's just enough of what I need to make this extra functional for me. So I did stick with the banner stickers in my Scout planner. I didn't have that much trouble with this one because these were made for this one. I'm just really not good at keeping them straight, but it's looking good. This month I am just sticking with the black ink. Previously I moved in with colored ink and colored highlighters, and then the stickers, and then the banners. So there was just a lot going on, but this is just enough, I think, just to keep it simple, because once I move in every week, everything stays the same up here, and down here it's just going to become my note space. So it's just a great layout. Let me show you. So these are the things I track in my finances. Up here, again, everything that is already on auto draft, I just like to make a note of that. I remind myself of when I'm sending my invoices and then when my client billings are due. I do note some travel time, and then any projects my husband has going on, I will go ahead and make a note of that just so that it reminds me of what I need to budget recap for those projects. And then down here, these are my 4 main boxes. So I'll do all of the auto payments, but I check in with it just to make sure that it matches. Any of the subscriptions, once I get my bank account out and I check it off, I'll write them down in here just so that I make sure that I'm going to stick with them, or if I'm not, and that way I make sure and put it in my follow-up so that I can cancel it for the previous month. And then any debts that we start accumulating, I will just make a note here. Sometimes it's empty, sometimes we do accumulate it. So I just like to have it on there as a reminder to check in. And then any of the home projects that I have to plan out and budget for, I will make a note of them here so that I just stay on focus with it, but also to remind myself again to do my budget recaps for those specific projects. Here is just kind of like a dashboard of goals. So what my savings goals are, budget goals, and then if we're doing any extra payments, I'll make a note of that there. And then of course, any projects that we're going to be specifically focusing on this month, I'll put there as well. I didn't put these here just because this is technically already in the January plans. So this will be moving forward for February. And then weekly, I just do the same thing. I'll note down whatever I have on the month, which I love because it just aligns perfectly to that day. And then I have our list of what we check in weekly. or try to at least. And then here I'll note all of our spend log. So at the end of the week, if I don't do this daily, sometimes I do if I remember. I was trying to build that habit, but if it's a crazy day, obviously I won't do it. But for the most part, at the end of the week, I print out my bank statement and then just write down all of our spend log, and then I'll go ahead and color coordinate it based off if it was a business or personal expense, and that way I just have that log at the end of the month, and it's just easier when I look back, set up taxes and all that fun stuff. So I like to do that, and I'll do that every single week. And I do my spend log for absolutely everything. So I don't just do business or personal or just like one specific area. I write down everything that we spend. That's why I'm not showing you guys January. But we spend I'll note everything from our food, Amazon, all of the things I shouldn't be buying. And then that way I know exactly where I'm overspending and what I need to kind of tone down for the next month. And then at the end of the back of the page is the end of the month. I do have my weekly check-in that we check in on a monthly basis. Sorry, not weekly, but monthly. My spend log, and then any unexpected things that we didn't plan for that were larger than just your regular spending habits. And then anything I want to follow up. So anything that I want to check in for the next month, or if there are projects that are coming up, I'll also put that here. So that's really briefly how I use my spread in my small scout. It's really just for this specific purpose. It's a tool that we use to check in on a bi-weekly, at least monthly basis to just get that view of where our money is going. For a lot of people, I know managing money and talking about money gets really tricky. I just love to be able to have this as a tool that we can use together, but also just because I love to be able to see this. I a couple of years ago got my whole identity got stolen. So like my social was literally used to like create new bank accounts, open credit cards, spend on those credit cards, and it I didn't find out until a couple of months in. And so it was a big mess trying to get everything fixed, especially when we're, trying to, buy a house and then want to save for a loan for construction. And it was just so many things. But now it just, I guess, was a blessing in disguise because this habit has really helped us just stay focused on everything. So that is why this planner is very personal to me, and then part of our routine that we really, really keep track of. So that's it, guys. That is my last step in my full planning process. Again, you don't need a fourth planner. You don't even need a third or a second. But again, if you just don't want to have to choose one like me and you just love anything, planners, stationery, and everything, I hope my system gives you some inspiration. So if you guys have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments. And I would love to know if you guys have any questions. And actually, how are you all planning your finances? Do you do it in a digital or paper planner? I'm curious to know. But either which way, I really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching my full system. If you haven't already, I will link the playlist in the description to see all of the four planners for February. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.